welcome back to the Eclectic Collection. Today we have episode 20, Chronicles of Fur. So, as the title might indicate, we've got some furry friends to talk about. Very, very many, actually. And our story takes us back to when I tune in, which is probably at the age of 2.5 or 3 that I can remember. And we always had some sort of furry friend in my world, although there were some brief interludes where that didn't continue happening. But we were just a collie kind of family. And I think people tend to stay with one type of dog. At least we always did. So when I was a wee tot, we had Brownie. Brownie was a full collie. He was adorable. He looked exactly like Lassie, very mild-mannered. And my vivid memories are riding him like a horse, which I'm sure he loved. And, you know, collies have that long, pointy snout. So super furry, lots of tumbleweeds of fur everywhere. But when I was a kid, I used to watch Sesame Street, and they used to have the honkers with the big noses, and they would run around honk, 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 and people would honk their nose. I thought it was cool, so I would frequently go up to Brownie and honk his nose, and he always let me do it. I'm sure he didn't like it, but he always let me do it, and he was a very docile dog. He was sweet, and he didn't make it like I tuned in where he was already with the family for a while, because myself, I was not a planned event. So I came to that table late, but he was only alive, I guess for my purposes, I was probably 5 when he passed away. I believe he died at 11. Really nice dog. He was just very sweet, very calm. Always called, when you called him, he came back to you, and he would return and fetch. And he was just a sweet dog. And it's funny because my memories of him are me being very small, him being like this huge colossus, although he was probably like a 60-pound dog, maybe a 70-pound dog, but full collie, very pretty, looked like Lassie, and he, unfortunately, I think he had kidney failure in the end, which was a bummer. There is this reported rumor that one of my siblings may or may not have let him eat fertilizer. I don't know. Jury's still out. I'll never know. But I don't think that actually happened. Again, inquiring minds want to know, but I wasn't on my watch, so I don't know. But he did get sick, and unfortunately, he did not make it. But we did do like dialysis and everything for him. Quite the arguable point. Really sweet dog, and really just the type of dog you want. He was pretty. He was nice. He was kind. He was just a real gentle soul, and he was always there. Like, he just knew how to be, and wasn't spastic or anything like that. When he was a puppy, I have this bad feeling Dad may or may not have drop kicked him into oblivion once or twice, but it was just correcting, and he was fine after that. I believe he chewed a black leather couch once. That didn't go over well, but he was never a kind of dog that made mischief or anything. Once he had his few brief corrections of the puppy stage, he was really sweet. And I don't ever remember him really misbehaving or running away or anything like that. Which led to the inexorable rebound dog, for lack of better wording, Ziggy. Dun, dun, dun. Now, for those of you who don't know who Ziggy is, okay, first of all, my answer is read a book, or actually read a newspaper, because it is one of the most popular comic strips from the 70s. You can Google it. However, when Brownie passed, it was very sad, especially to my sister, who really, 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 really loves dogs. I think that, she's got the best disposition for furry friends more than anybody I know. And it was really heartbreaking to everybody. And the rumor goes, again, I was little, I was like 5 or 6 at this time. My brother's friend had a litter of German Shepherd puppies, and they weren't ready yet, and they had to be like weaned off their mom. So we had like a potential free German Shepherd coming to us. But in the interim, Ziggy, who was like pure mutt, I don't even know what he was, to be honest. He had like a black muzzle, and he was kind of tan. I really don't know what he was. He was a mix of, I don't know what. Now it would probably be some designer dog, but he was, I don't know what. Ziggy, we got Ziggy. I think he was free as well. I know why now after having had Ziggy, why he was free. But Ziggy was totally unruly. He only was with us 2 years. Ziggy sort of vanished one night. He's alive, or he was at that point, but very upsetting to my sister. But it was an experimental dog situation. He just would always leave us presents in the house that are not the kind of presents you want, and constantly ate things, chewed stuff, wouldn't come back, run away. Like he was cute, but looks aren't everything. So he was definitely a little mongrel that lovable, but short lived. And it's funny because we've never not kept a dog, and I just remember him disappearing, and I don't really know the circumstances behind that. Unsolved mysteries again. But he was maybe a year or so after Brownie passed, and he was trying to fill a void that he clearly could not fill. Big shoes or paws, as the case may be, to fill. So years go by, and we go from like late 70s to 1990, 91, and my sister so I have two sisters. So my one sister moved out and went and got a cat whose name was Sparkle. He was an all-black cat. He was actually a really nice cat. And he was around for a while. Honestly, I think he only made it to 7. He unfortunately developed another kidney thing. I don't know what's with kidney things and pets. And my one sister ended up giving him to my other sister because she had a crazy work schedule at the time and really couldn't focus on him and take care of him the way he needed to be taken care of. So she so much, they lived around the corner from each other. They still do. So she essentially adopted Sparkle, and he was cool. He was a really sweet kitty. Definitely nice cat, purr, let you pet him, fluffy, big full black fur. And all cats have that creepy eye thing going on. So then they watch you from the top of the stairs. It's kind of disturbing and off-putting. But other than that, he was a really nice kitty. Unfortunately, like I said, I think he only made it to 7. I could be wrong, but another kidney situation. Very sad. But he was a nice kitty. He was sort of an interim pet, and that set this spark in my sister off at some point, because around 1991. She was just like, I want a dog, I want a dog, and I always wanted a dog. And as a kid, I used to be sent in as the informer, and she would say to me, go tell Dad that you want a dog. Tell Daddy you want a puppy. Tell Daddy you want a puppy. And he would just laugh at me like, no, we're not getting any more dogs. So when when Sparkle didn't make it anymore, he was mid-80s, and my sister decided to get a dog. She went in with one of her friends to the SPCA, and they have little cards. You have to grab a card for a dog. And this half collie, half Sheltie, lassie looking puppy, came in. And it was apparently a big litter, and I think there was only one dog left, and it was this dog. She was adorable, and when my sister sees something that she wants, she gets a little crazy, and you better get out of the way. That's all I'm saying. So it got ugly. She went and got the card, freaked out on the people. I want that dog. That's my dog. I want that dog. Don't touch that dog. Don't show that dog to anybody else. That's my dog. They barreled over every person in the SPCA to be like, I want that dog. Give me that dog. And they did. They were successful and got that dog. That dog would eventually become Mandy. Maybe a nod to Barry Manilow. Just saying. Throw that out there. Maybe that song really is about a dog. So she was super sweet and really, really, really a nice disposition. Good puppy, good doggy. She lived to be 16. We had Mandy, and I would say Mandy kind of became the Brownie wannabe, became like the family pet, even though she resided at my sister's not far away. And she was just a really sweet dog. She was probably like a 60-pound dog that I made into a 75-pound dog when I worked restaurant. I used to bring her home leftovers. Let me tell you, this dog was fed filet mignon more than one occasion. Really sweet dog, little speckled paws. And the thing about dogs, and maybe it's all dogs, I don't know, maybe it's collie dogs, she had popcorn paws. And by that I mean her paws smelled like popcorn. Not kidding. Don't know why that happens. It's weird. But it's kind of a cool smell. So if you want to go to the movie theater, just smell a dog paw, I guess. But she was a really nice dog. And like I said, lived to be 16, was really, really sweet. Luckily didn't have any major traumas. Unfortunately, in the end, I mean, honestly, it was just old age, and she did have some like back, hip, and leg issues, as a lot of them do. Just getting up and getting down. But she was probably about 9 or 10 when I went on a mission, and my sister was like, "Oh, I think I want to get a little puppy." And my thought process was that if she had another dog, you would never be without one, because let's face it, domestic animals are basically small tragedies waiting to happen. They become part of your family, and you get really attached to them. And I'm sorry, but they're very, very awesome little characters, and they have their own personalities. We're definitely dog people, but they're better than people in many cases. I mean, think about 5 or 10 people that you know, and then think about all the disappointments that they have led you to, whether intentionally or not. And then think about a dog. Okay, yeah, there's some things they can do that can drive you crazy, but they are literally always there for you and unconditional people. Like, they will just love you unconditionally. They are so excited when you get home. They want to, be by your side for everything, good, bad, or ugly. They don't leave you. They're not people that can, betray you or anything like that. It's just weird. And if you think about people versus pets, specifically dogs, I'm just saying, dogs probably win. I mean, no accident, dog is God spelled backwards. Just throwing that out there. So the theory was, since Mandy was about 10, I thought I better go get a little puppy, and that way there's always like a dog in the pipeline. Now, it's morbid thinking, but being the oops baby of 4, I think like that. So I went out to Lancaster to purchase a little female Sheltie. That was the plan, or some facsimile of Sheltie, Shetland Sheepdog, Collie, whatever. But the point was a female brown and white doggy. That was the goal. So one of my friends comes with me. It was December 23rd. I have no idea where I'm going. It was, like 1998, I guess. And no GPS, pre-internet, pre-cell phone, maps in the car. Clueless where I'm going. I'd been to Lancaster twice in the car with my sister. And I called ahead to an Amish farm. Okay, now right there, that's like an oxymoron, because how do you call an Amish farm? Okay, you don't. What they used to do, because they're really not, I'll say allowed, or it's frowned upon to use technology in their religion. So they don't have phones or cars or anything electronic per se. So they would go to local gas stations or shops or restaurants. And often, very many of them, if they had a business, which a lot of them do because they're very superior craftspeople, they would make an agreement or an arrangement with that local shop or gas station or whatever to say, here's a number that, can I use your number for taking calls for this or that? And they would, have some barter agreement with them. Well, this gas station that was nearby, this guy, Ephraim Petersheim, which is about 95% of the people have that name, he was very sweet, and he had a family that raised little Collie Sheltie dogs and Shetland Sheepdogs in Lancaster. So I had called him, and via I forget what kind of gas station it was, but it was a gas station, and left him a message. And he did get back to me and told me that he had a litter that was ready to go, and there were little doggies. So I said, do you have females? He said, yes. I said, do you have little brown and white doggies? He said, yes. So I'm all excited. Okay, great. So we begin our trek, I want to say 1 or 2 in the afternoon. From my house, it really only takes about an hour and a half to get to Lancaster. Again, not knowing where I'm going. Luckily, we found it. Thankfully, my friend was a super shopper and liked to go to the outlets. So we get to the gas station, at which point I call the guy and say, I can't call his house, but I call the gas station to say, I'm nearby, and have you seen this man? And the gas station guy gives me directions into the woven maze known as Lancaster. Now, if you haven't been, it's definitely worth going. It's a visual treat, but I will tell you, every road is not necessarily named. There are farms everywhere, and it's not even a grid that you can necessarily follow. So by act of God, I found the place in the correct farm. And this man and this older woman, I assume was his mother or grandmother, opened this barn door, and a sea of little brown and white doggies comes running out, and one very fat cat that looked miserable. And I'm petting all the doggies, and I'm like, okay. And I said, well, I'd like a female. And I go to pay him, and he points me to the direction of the only two little doggies that did not look like the rest of the doggies. I said, well, I called you and I said I wanted a female that's brown and white. And he's like, oh, yeah, only the males are brown and white. The two females are black and white. I was like, are you kidding me? And at that point, it was like 4 o'clock, December 23rd. My sister was born on Christmas. I need a gift slash pet slash dog. Guess what? At this point, we're getting a dog. So here we go. And she was adorable. She was a Shetland sheepdog. And my sister decided to name her Molly. I referred to her as Molly the toy collie. She had a lot of names. She was Skunky Dog because she totally looked like a skunk. She could have been Pepe Le Pew or Moncherie at any given glance. Stick Leg, Skunky Dog. We called her Spike for a while because she used to be the little dog that would be schizo compared to Mandy, who was so calm and docile. And she would like jump around like the cartoons, like, hey, Spike, what are you going to do, Spike? So we used to call her Spike. She had a lot of names. She was adorable. But total schizoid. You couldn't really pick her up. She would come and let you pet her, but couldn't really pick her up. She was on her terms, but really sweet dog. Didn't know it at the time. What do? I do a test run. I had Mandy with me in the back of my car. I had a white Topaz and not a lot of room for error in that car. So I put Mandy in the back of the car. Thinking back, this was probably a huge mistake because the big dog could have mauled, eaten, and murdered the little dog, but I was lucky. I take the little puppy to make sure they quote-unquote get along, open the back of the car, throw the little puppy who's probably terrified in the back seat with Mandy, close the door, and I figure, well, let's see what happens. They're going to meet and get along. Mandy looks at her like, are you permanent? And Molly was terrified, and they gave me a little box to put her in on the way home with a little biscuit or something. It's unfortunate because she puked on the way home, but maiden voyage. And she would stay. Mandy shunned me for a little while, probably at least a week, but she realized that Molly was permanent. So I got home, and my sister used to work part-time as a second job, and she wasn't home. So I put the dog in a little gift bag. That's how tiny she was, and stuck her in the closet right before she got home. When I heard the car pull up, don't worry, I didn't like lock the dog in the closet forever. Calm down, PETA. And she got in, and I was like, oh, there's something in the closet. And she walked in, and she sees this little dog in a bag. And I was like, Merry Christmas, Happy Birthday. So she got the little doggy, and she kind of looked at her like, she's adorable. And by the way, she's black and white and is supposed to be brown and white. Like, what happened? I said, listen, it's a rough day. You were getting a dog. So that was the story of Molly, the toy collie. And Molly, who was really meant to succeed Mandy, unfortunately got cancer when she was 10. And it was a bummer because not only did that really mess up my plans and my intentions, but it just kills me that an innocent animal could actually not only suffer from people-type diseases, which is horrible, but to be unaware that you're sick. Obviously, they can't tell you what's wrong. So let's just say some leakage started to happen, and we thought, what's happening? And unfortunately, they did tests, and they found out that she had bladder cancer. So, chemo on a dog, probably not the best move. And she actually, they gave us like really terrible odds. They said that she had 3 months without any kind of treatment, and possibly, 6 months to a year with it. So we didn't do the treatment because not only is it ridiculously, quality of life and expensive, but we didn't do anything. And she ended up living like almost a whole year on her own, really functional, just she wasn't in pain or anything. And the nice thing was that she was unaware that she was sick. So it was sad for us, but, great little doggy. And the real kick for us was that we had this massive tragic time because she passed naturally from the cancer. And at that point, Mandy was like pushing 16, and unfortunately, like she hung on, and I think she hung on for my sister, but she actually died not long after. I'd say about maybe 6 weeks after Molly passed away. It turned into, I think she wasn't eating anymore, and she was really getting sick, and she was just older, and we had to put her down because she was so just frail at that point. And that was like crushing, because not only did we lose them both, but it was unexpected, and again, you don't want to see any creature per se suffer, but certainly not ones that are innocent and didn't do anything to you, so not deserving of it. Now, I should mention that in the middle of all this, there's this cat. The cat, not Sparkle, he's long gone, Marty. So Mr. Marty is, wow, what does one say about Marty? I personally think that he plotted world domination and had a team of assembled squirrels living in my sister's attic that would actually act on his very whim. I think he was kind of a dictator and had animal mind control. This is my theory. She, however, would argue that, oh, he was sweet and he would knead and, he would purr and blah, blah. That's great. I think he had her on some sort of IV drip and she was drinking the Kool-Aid, because Marty was like, and would hiss at anyone and not be terribly friendly. And you had to not pet him because he didn't like that unless he let you pet him, which was about, okay, you can touch my tail once, see you, bye, I'm out. He was not a warm, cuddly cat. The best thing that ever happened that I witnessed to Marty was when my brother, out of pure reciprocity, I might add, bit Marty's tail. Marty freaked out and hissed at my brother and tried to bite him and swatted at him. And my brother bit his tail to let him know how it felt. And he never messed with my brother again, so props to Rock for that. But Marty was sort of a loner, like, leave me alone, I'll come out when I want to. But he really did take to my sister. And the funny thing is, like a lot of cats, again, we're dog people, so forgive me, he just did what he wanted when he wanted. And he was not a person that sought company often. But my father, who detested cats, and I'm not sure why. He was, he's always a dog person, but my dad was not a cat kind of person. He just wasn't. And rumor has it, and I don't know because it was long before my time, but rumor has it that his mom had a cat, or his sister had a cat. There was a cat in the house. Now, I don't know if the cat was mean or bothered him as a kid or what, but he never liked cats. Well, it's like Marty knew that and would hone in on my father and try to be near him, try to sit next to him. Meow. He never really said much. He would go near my dad. Meow, 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 purr, meow. Always trying to be near my dad. My dad's like, I hate cats. Get this cat away from me. So it was kind of funny. I feel like cats know that and do that to aggravate people because, again, cats are generally plotting world domination. I just want to be clear about that. But Marty, he actually came in the mix very shortly after Mandy. So Mandy and Marty basically grew up together, and they actually had a really good relationship. Mandy was super cuddly and sweet, and they got along great. I don't know if it had to do with he was a male cat and she was a female dog, and there wasn't like competition or other males or other female, like I don't know. Molly, not so much. Marty used to go after Molly, and give this big old thwap and come after her often. She'd be walking in the kitchen or come into the den, and all of a sudden he would hide and pounce on her. It was pretty funny. But they would play. They definitely would play. But he was really after her all the time, or leave me alone kind of a phase. And then she would go after him, and they would chase one another and frolic because she was still puppy and he was young. As a kitten, he kind of looked like a bat. He literally had like bat ears, but he did grow into himself. He ended up being like a 20-pound cat. He was an orange tabby, and he was cute, but again, looks aren't everything. I want to point that out. He had huge paws. He kind of reminded me of Daniel the tiger from Mr. Rogers. I often would take my watch off and put it on his paw and be like, meow, 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 meow. He didn't like that. But he did have a thing for Doritos, which I've never seen a cat rub his face on a Dorito. But he would, and that was his jam. He loved Doritos. Funny thing about Mandy, she loved vanilla Coke. Vanilla Coke was a fairly new thing that came out, and she would shove her face into a glass to drink vanilla Coke. Again, never really seen that. And Mandy would eat anything not nailed down, but she would shove her face into a glass that it did not fit in to get vanilla Coke. I came back from a BJ's run one day with lots of products and whatnot, and I had gotten like bulk dog treats. They look like little steaks. And I'll tell you a story about dog treats and me in a minute, but I digress. So it was little steaks in this little container, and it had fallen on the floor. And if you know anything about BJ's, Sam's Club, Costco, places like that, generally you just take the item and you don't per se have bags or boxes because they're big items anyway. So I was running everything in and out from the car, and I just dropped it on the floor when I walked in, figuring we'll sort it out later. Well, the way I had put everything down, the container of dog treats that looked like little steaks and were adorable fell over, and there was just a small catch on the lid, and other than that, it would flip up the lid and make for easy access. So Mandy saw it, knew what it was, and starts pawing at the catch. And eventually, it opens, and all these little steaks spill out onto my sister's carpet. And Mandy begins to proceed eating them in trough style. Molly walks over like, can I have some? And Mandy puts her paw on the container like, no, mine, get away, thank you. And she sat, and the worst part is, here we are like stupid human tricks, watching the dog, letting her like eat and trough this entire container. She ended up eating like a third of the container just because we wanted to see how long she would go before we stopped her. Probably not the healthiest of choices, but at least they were little steak treats. But I vividly remember that. I told you about treats, so quick sidebar. When I was a little kid, this is a true story. That's the best part of this. And I stand behind it, and I don't care what you think of me. When I was a little kid, I was like 2 or 3, I obviously was bite-sized, so I was short and couldn't reach the cookie cabinet, and I wanted a cookie. So I was like, oh, can I have a cookie? Can I have a cookie? And yeah, everybody was ignoring me. And it was maybe like a little before dinner or something. So it was like, no, not time for cookie. No cookie. So honestly, it was more just pure ignorance. And everybody was busy doing their thing and not looking down to realize I was crawling around on the floor. So I'm like, cookie, can I have a cookie? I would like a cookie. Never got the cookie. So eventually I remember Mom referring to dog treats once as a cookie. And at the time we had brownie and I was little. So under the sink was a cabinet where Mom put the Gaines burgers, which I don't even know if they're a thing anymore. They look like burgers for dogs. They looked like a real burger. So just keep that in the back of your mind. And milk bones, like plain old milk bones, has been around forever. And she would leave them under the sink. And that was like where the dog treats lived and where the dog food lived. So, of course, no one paying attention to me, because every bad thing I ever did was when nobody's paying attention to me. I open the cabinet under the sink, and I reach in and grab a Gaines burger, and I reach in and grab a handful of milk biscuits, and I ate them. And it was probably 2/3 of the way through the Gaines burger and at least 4 or 5 milk bones in before anybody was like, what are you doing? It was my brother who actually caught me. He said, what are you doing? I said, I wanted a cookie. He's like, they're for the dog. They're not cookies. And I said, well, Mom called them like a dog cookie. Same idea, like dog treat. It just tastes pretty good. Okay, I'm not going to lie. I still have a thing for the smell of dog treats. Pepperonis, bacon strips, the little steaks, bones like B-O-N-Z. Not going to lie. Really like the smell of them. I do. Not so much kibble. I was never a kibble fan. Okay, do I go out and buy these and eat them? No. Would I? Possibly. Just saying. It might sound a little weird, but I sometimes have to compete with the dog, and I'm like, I don't know, these smell too good. And now they have all this like legitimate stuff that looks and smells like chicken and beef and whatnot. That I don't know. I'm ripping them up and giving them treats, and I don't know. I'm really thinking about it. But if someone dared me to do that, and they have, and I have. Just to be clear, that doesn't even faze me. I'm probably eating horse ground up, but we don't think about that. And like I said, Gainsburgers, I don't think they exist anymore, but R.I.P. Gainsburgers, because they looked exactly like a burger and had that texture too, I might add. And I know it from having consumed them. Again, don't care what you think about me. Okay, so after the very sad demise of Mandy and Molly, and again, Marty's still Marty Cat. Marty would live to be 19. Holy free holies. Okay, 19. I think he lived for spite, actually, but he would live to be 19. And before he passed, I guess it was, a year or so that my sister was dogless, and she's in her worst possible state when dogless. So she was like, I can't do it. It's a tragedy. It made me sad. I can never get another dog. And I said, listen, you without a dog is like me without Coca-Cola. It's not good. You need to get a dog. So one day, I just started a new, school year. I was I think early October. I'm sleeping late on a Saturday because I hate getting up early, and it's just a thing. And my phone rings. It's about, I don't know, it's 1:15 in the afternoon, and I'm totally asleep, wasted. Gotta get my sleep. I'm like, hello. My sister calls me from about a half hour away near school where I teach. There's this, I don't know what you call it. I guess a farmer's market, for lack of better wording. That's pretty famous. So she says, you got to come out here. I think I found a dog. I'm like, I'll be right there. I woke up instantly. It was immediately like, I got to go. So I jumped out of bed. I race out there as fast as I can. I go into the farmer's market, and here's my sister being psycho like usual, waiting for this dog. Now, what I didn't know was that when the puppies came in and she was just looking, she had actually gone in to go to the candy store across the way to buy sugar-free candy. Because who doesn't go in to a farmer's market to buy sugar-free candy and come out with a dog? I mean, that's just normal, right? So she's waiting to buy sugar-free candy and sees the puppies across the way. So she walks in, just be like, oh, furry friends. And there's this cute little female, brown and white, Sheltie. And it's just, she's adorable. She's like a little Sheltie. And my sister falls in love with her. They were about to clean the cage. So unlike the SPCA, which is like a card system, she walks in, stalks the owner, and says, I want that dog. And the owner's like, okay, well, I have to clean her cage, so, I'm going to put her behind the counter so I can clean her cage. Like, you can come back in a little bit. She's like, I'm not leaving. I want that dog. That dog will be mine. I'm not leaving here until you sell me that dog. At this point, the people are like, freak, please get out. But, they humor her. So the poor doggy is behind the counter while they're cleaning her cage. And my sister's stalking the dog. And they're like, okay, I promise, we'll give you the dog. Like, relax. So I luckily got there in the last 10 minutes of this shenanigans. And she's hawking this poor dog. Like, I want that dog. That's my dog. You're not going to get in. Take that dog away from me. Okay, fine. We finally get the dog. We buy the dog. We get some dog treats and leashes and things we hadn't had in a while. And she's so excited. And thus, Mindy. So Mindy's adorable and very sweet. And I would say she's like kind of a fusion. She's got a little bit of Mandy dog kind of traits, and she's not really spastic like Molly, but she definitely had, some of the sweetheart, like lighthearted mannerisms of Mandy. But Mindy's a little more skittish. She's a little more, I don't want to say jumpy, but she's definitely a little more squeamy dog, as I like to call her. So Mindy, also known as Mindy Dog, because that's her official title. Her color is pink, by the way. So Mindy is actually going to turn 14 on July 3rd. And this dog's entire life has really been about taking care of us. Oh, Mindy Dog. She's such a good little doggy. What to say about Mindy Dog? She really came into the whirlwind of awful that would become my family's trial times, kind of like equivalent to Hunger Games. No, it was bad. She came in, was a cute little doggy, life was good, and then very quickly thereafter we had her, my brother just suddenly passed away. So none of us were waiting for that, and that was pretty awful. And she was like, she was little, she was a puppy, but she was like an instant grief counselor. It was funny because she would just kind of know, I think dogs know, and she would just get up and move next to the person that was most upset or needed to pet some little furry friend or needed to do something, and she'd be like, "Hi, I'm Mindy. I'm your grief counselor today." Like, I swear she could have worn a little sign and been like, "I'm a working dog." And she did that and really helped everybody through. Even my father, who although he was a dog guy, obviously he's lost his son, so he was completely distraught. Would find himself just kind of petting Mindy, and she was just available. And it's weird because like I think they sense obvious things like weather and stuff, pets and animals do, but it just hormones or not being right or chemically, we have to like give off a scent or smell different or act different or behave different or whatever. And I just think animals are tuned into that, and she really was. And then shortly thereafter, not long, a couple months later, my sister had a pretty serious surgery um, on her leg, and it was this whole big mess. And I ended up, my sister was there for a while. She was down at Penn, and it was one of those things where coming off of a sudden death that we didn't expect, anything that could be normal routine or planned just suddenly becomes more concerning. And of course, you're not supposed to have dogs in the hospital in case you didn't know that. But back then, you could have visitors in the hospital without any question. So she got to a very stressed out point where she was progressing, but not as quickly as she wanted to, or anything like that. And really missed the dog. And um, her neighbor was nice enough to keep the dog for a while. So one night I smuggled her in to the hospital. I basically bribed all of the guards and the nursing stations by dropping off coffee and donuts like the Pied Piper along the way. I was Hansel and Greteling this stuff, and I was like, here, and nobody bothered me. And I said, look, if you don't want my sister to freak out, I need to bring this dog upstairs for a little while. And now it's a little more common with the service dogs and the touchy-feely, um, the animals that they have for support and stuff. But at the time, that wasn't quite so happening. So that was like, this is around 2010. And I did get her in, and I just could see my sister brighten up as soon as I brought Mindy in there. And she was a great little puppy. She didn't do anything bad in the hospital. She didn't chew a wire. She didn't leave them any kind of presents. It was fine. She really was good. And I attribute my sister's quick recovery and subsequent much better health afterwards to that little dog. So it was like a motivation to want to see the dog, walk the dog, have the dog come back home. Day one, she would take a time and just get up and walk around the house. And then it was like walk outside to the mailbox. And then it was walk out to the little patch out front so you could let the dog out. And eventually she got to walk down the hill. And, she got stronger and stronger as time went on. And Mindy really was the motivator behind that, of the byproduct of her health. And then, unfortunately, not that long after that, about 2 years later, tragedy struck again, and my brother-in-law passed away very suddenly. And again, this poor dog's thinking, like, what's with these people? At this point, she has to be wondering. So she just kind of went and helped everybody and was truly a service animal, I guess, without the degree, if you want to call it that. And then I'd say, I guess 3 years after that, my father passed away. And all were unexpected. Dad did get sick first. We didn't really know what was going on. Unfortunately, by the time we found out what it was, he was like 2 days from passing. But she was instrumental into what little calmness and peace he had, bringing that toward him. He died of this weird disease called Lewy body dementia, which a lot of people don't know about. Maybe in the future I'll do an episode on that because it's so freakishly weird. And unfortunately, you can't do much about it, and you can have it for a really long time. It's like it's like all the advantages of a disease and all the disadvantages of combating it. And I didn't know what it was. And although that's what he actually died of, one of the issues that comes along with it is that you can feel hyper sensitive, specifically with touch. So, like, he would have a sheet on and it would feel like bricks, or he might have, a feather type thing on, and he would like flick covers on and off, or he would get very hot, very cold. It's extremely sensitive. It was a horrible thing, and you never knew, and you couldn't predict it. And despite that thrashing and horribleness that would come out of that, Mindy would just kind of sit there or jump up in his lap, and you could tell he was like calm, even if he wasn't aware or as lucid as he should be, or he could get, because it got increasingly bad toward the end, with him knowing exactly where he was and what he was doing. That reality of the dog was always present. So I found that interesting. Like, sometimes just a simple act of sitting there petting her or holding a hand to somebody, he was as content as he was going to get. And again, she would be there for all of us. So this dog's whole life has literally been service. And I got nervous because I felt like the poor dog never saw anything good out of any of us, because after all that tragedy compressed in such a small time, we're all just kind of beat. You can only run back and forth to hospitals so much, or have so much tragedy compacted into a small space, before you just like, look, I gotta check out for a while and vegetable out and be a couch potato and don't talk to me. So it's easy to retreat just to pet a little doggy, and she's been there for everybody. At one point, we thought that, much like the pipeline I spoke of earlier, we were going to get another little doggy, which we did, but Marcy was the next plan. The Marcy was a name only, because she has an MY thing going on, in case you didn't notice the pattern yet. And there was this cute little dog in the pet store right across the street from her house, a little baby Sheltie, little darker, I'd say like darker brown, and some more like almost favoring Mandy's colors, white, black, and sable. She looked really cute, and I guess at the time argued the price. I think the dog was like $400 or $500. Looking back, wow, you definitely should have bought her. I think that would have been the way to go, but no, she never bought her. She just went in, saw this dog a couple times, and then I guess she got sold, and many years went by. So now Mindy is 14, but 2 years ago, well, really 3, my sister started looking at different Shelties, and she wanted to get a miniature Sheltie, and she thought maybe getting a boy was the answer, since Brownie was so good. Note to self, Brownie was a collie and Dad was alive. That's all I'm saying. So Murphy was the plan before Murphy was even a reality. And she plotted for a year with a breeder in North Carolina that was really successful and had all these mini Shelties, and they were adorable. And she kind of tracked and put a deposit and spent a lot of time and effort going through this. And then about 2 years ago, Murph was ready, and he was born in January, and around late February we were able to go purchase him. So I'd like to point out he was significantly more expensive than Marcy would have been. Just saying, told you so. But we drove to North Carolina over a weekend to purchase Murphy, and we brought Mindy, of course. And he was adorable, and he was all of 2 pounds. Never seen a little doggy that small. And I thought, wow, this is great. And they said he would be about 10 pounds. His father, who is the agility champion for the AKC, which is pretty impressive, you could tell those genetics are in there, because he just will not walk a straight line. If there's a way for him to dash up, over, through, around something just for fun and athletic sake, he will do it. He's extremely fuzzy, very furry. He's adorable. You could mistake him for like a baby lion. He has so much fur. And, looks aren't everything, like I've said before. He is sweet. He's adorable. He is such a troublemaker. He barks. He's serious Barky Von Schnauzer. And he just likes to... I think he has pica. Honestly, he'll eat anything. Like, still, the dog is too. And he's a mutant. Did I mention that? So he grows so much fur and has grown so big. Now, if you hosed him down, he does look like a wet rat. You could see the significance in the depth of the fur. But boyfriend's rocking like, 20, 25 pounds now. and he was supposed to be no larger than 10. And the people are very serious about this. So they're like, oh, well, you could bring him back and we'll give you a refund. Okay, yeah, like I guess you could, but it's not like we're going to show him or breed him or anything, which she actually toyed with. And I don't know what she was thinking there, but he was certainly, we kept him. But she toyed with threatening him about it for a while, but she was never going to bring that dog back. So he's a mutant. All of our dogs are mutants in some weird fashion. They have some quirk or strange walk or something. And sometimes he has llama feet because his fur gets so out of control and unruly that he literally looks like he has llama feet. So we've recently trimmed the llama feet. But he is just a bundle of joy, nerves, energy, fill in the blank. Again, really sweet, adorable looking, looks aren't everything. Mindy's like, really? Really? You are what I have to deal with now? Great, thanks. So at 14, she's not having it. And all she does is bark more now to correct him because he just won't listen. Like, it was never an issue with all of our other dogs. So I don't know if it's because he's still a puppy or because he's a boy and she's a girl. I don't know. I'm really not sure. But yeah, could have had Marcy, but no, we have Murph dog. Gotta love him. He's Murphalicious. So yeah, that's kind of the lineage there. It's funny because in a parallel universe, my other sister had, I would say her Mandy parallel was Kimba. And Kimba for Kimba the White Lion. And he kind of looked like it. He was a half chow, half husky mix. Really sweet dog. Lived a really long time. He was like pushing 16 as well. And he was sweet, and he was down the street because they don't live that far from one another. And he was just a marshmallow. He was really calm, and he didn't bark too much, and he kind of looked like a blockhead. Not gonna lie, like he literally had like a blockhead head, but he was very square looking. But he was a real sweetheart, and they had him for a long time, so they kind of got spoiled by him. And then simultaneously, honorable mention pets, Flash the fish. My niece was in this carnival and was determined to win a carny fish. And, you know, the guy basically all but altered the game and cheated to let her win the carnival fish. She was like, I don't know, 5. And that fish lived for like, I don't know, 20 years, 18 years. Something, it's crazy. So Flash the fish lived for a very long time. It's just like a beta in a big bowl. We stuck him in a brandy sifter. So he coexisted with Kimba, but obviously they were in a very different realm, so they didn't interact too much. And she had a Oreo. Oreo was the little hamster, which she somehow accidentally gave a heart attack because when she was younger, she thought that Oreo was cold and opened the freezer door on a hot summer day, even though he was in air conditioned, and kind of stuck him in the freezer. She didn't leave him there, but she opened the door and like put him in the freezer. And I'm pretty sure he had a heart attack and died like right afterwards. So I don't know. Gerbilicide? What do you call that? Hamstercide? I don't know what you call that. But anyway, he was short-lived. And after Kimba passed, there was Daisy. Daisy May. Okay, so if you took, like, the concept of don't fire until you see the whites of their eyes, The Exorcist, and some of the scariest-looking sharks in the world that their eyes roll white, and put that in a blender, that's kind of Daisy's makeup. Daisy was allergic to grass. Have you ever heard of that with a dog? Okay, I did not. Here's the twisted part. One of my colleagues that I really don't even know or didn't know that well at the time worked at one of the other elementary schools and had this dog, and she had come from, I don't know, the Peace Corps or something. And she had this dog, and she couldn't keep the dog because she was going on a leave or Peace Corps or whatever, moving, and put up a picture. It was on a whim. And I thought, oh, wow, this dog looks exactly like Kimba. It was a half chow, half husky. And although she was a little more golden type looking, not golden retriever, but golden, like yellow, golden. He was more whiter, like white gold, if you will. She was like a darker gold color and fur. She looked a lot like him. Their dispositions could not have been more far apart. But here goes my sister, my other sister who had Kimba, goes, oh my God, it looks just like Kimba. I want this dog. And kind of like sight unseen went to go visit the dog and takes the dog. I'm like, wow, I would just, sending you some info like, oh, doesn't this dog look like your dog? Wasn't really pushing like, go get another dog. But she did. And she made it several years. I think she was like 11 or 12 when she passed. But she would just randomly bite you. She had the whitest, prettiest teeth, but I swear she had like a twitch or a tick for a dog. And they had the chip in her. I swear the chip made her go nutty. And she would hear rando frequencies. I don't know. The dog belonged to Stranger Things. We'd be petting her. Life's good. All of a sudden, the smile turned into like this creepy roll back of the eyes. And the next thing you know, she was biting your face off. It was very weird. And, Cujo, I don't know. I would just randomly be like, Exorcist dog, Cujo, are you, which Daisy are you right now? So it was kind of scary. And then while Daisy still was in existence, my niece's neighbor, this older woman, passed away. And she had a little doggy named Brandy. And Brandy was a bite-sized, like 8-pound Pomeranian. Super cute. The bummer is this lady smoked like, I don't know, 5 packs a day or something. And the dog developed emphysema from the owner. And the dog was so small, at some point, I don't know if she was hit, crushed, stepped on, like not intentionally. She was not an abusive person, please don't get me wrong. But the dog had some accident where several of her ribs had been broken. And I don't know if it was money or what, but the lady never got her medical attention. So she had like displaced ribs that like healed wrong, emphysema, and the dog would literally be like, it was horrible. Like she would just breathe poorly, and she was a tiny little thing, adorable, fluff, total fluff ball, fluffer nutter. But she ended up taking the dog because I don't think that there was much family left, and they couldn't have a dog or whatever. And so she ended up taking on the dog. And simultaneously, while that was going on, Lily was the original guinea pig that she got for her school because she's in education as well. So my niece had this little Lily guinea pig. And, she lived a couple years. I don't think she lived too long. But Lily was around for a while. And then she would take her home sometimes, like during the summer. She would Lily watch. And then after Daisy passed away, and she had Brandy, she got Kim. So Kim, as in Kym Kim, was a pure chow. Now, I don't know why she's got a thing for chows. I'm way more partial to the Shelties and the Collies. I mean, what's not to love about Lassie? But if you don't know anything about chows kind of do what they want when they want because they're equal parts stubborn and not the brightest bulbs, okay? So I'm used to like sixth in the brainiest of dog category are Collies and Shelties and Shetland sheepdogs and all those kind of dogs. And on the opposite side, where the not so bright ones, lovable though they may be, pugs being low on the list and chows being low on the list, they're just 86 cents short of $1. So Kim just doesn't even know what Kim's doing sometimes. Cute, again, looks aren't everything. Very fluffy, kind of more in that whitish, light golden kind of look, but more of a white kind of color. Black tongue, curly tail, the whole 9 yards. The other dogs had those features, but hers are pronounced because she's a real chow, if you will, purebred chow. And Brandy and Kim, well, let's just say that Brandy looked like a snack all too often. So Brandy ended up getting exiled to my sister's while my niece kept Kim. And then Lulu came into play. Lulu was the backup guinea pig that replaced Lily. And Lulu lived like 9 or 10 years, which is unheard of from what I'm told in guinea pig world. And Lulu just recently passed, and unfortunately Brandy is not with us any longer either. I think it's been about a year now. And Kimmy is still going, still kind of crazy. She has some Daisy traits. She has a little bit of that roll back the whites of your eyes and possibly chomp on you for no reason whatsoever. Not as often. She tried that on Mindy one time. Mindy turned around and bit her like, don't even think about it. I am in charge. I am alpha dog. And we've never really had conflict since then, but it was ugly for a minute. She does this protective thing where she doesn't want you to leave. So she'll stand in front of the door. And at first it's not belligerent, but then you become captive prisoner of your own home. So that's scary. And I have been aggressively blocked from going out the door when no one else was home. So now I just try not to go to my sister's when she's there. But another honorable mention pet would be the gerbil hamster cannibals that we had. My sister started out with years ago in the basement. We had a little cage, I guess, little aquarium looking thing, but she had 2 or 3 gerbils, hamsters, gerbils. I can't tell the difference. I think they were gerbils. Anyway, it turned out it was 2 boys and a girl. How does one tell? I don't know. Not about to go searching. And the boys were fighting over the girl. So I think the one boy ate the other boy, and then the boy and the girl killed each other. It was a really masochistic relationship. It did not last. All I know is being little and walking downstairs to like carnage inside the cage and thinking, wow, did they explode? What happened here? It was very scary. So we kind of gave up the gerbil hamster thing after that. Oreo was a brave, bold move on my niece's part. But, like I said, heart attack. And I, of course, had Sherman the shark and Carlos the crab for a little while. Carlos the crab was one of those, he was a Galapagos crab where one claw was exceptionally large and the other one was normal. But he was real small. I don't think he was 2 inches in length. And I had an aquarium for a long time. And then Sherman the shark, which would give way to Sigmund the shark. Usually I had black-tip sharks, and they were pretty cool. But unfortunately, they don't live that long. And I had Luigi the lobster for a little bit. Luigi the lobster had an interesting, I'll say honorable mention note. One time, and I ended up having to put a top on the aquarium because Luigi escaped. They would molt every so often. Luigi would molt and leave a shell in the bottom. And I had like the little diver and the stones and the cute thing. But there was a filter in the water. He climbed up the filter hose in my basement. The basement is the length of my house, so it's pretty long. He climbed up the hose to the pump and the filter, got out of the water, climbed down the hose to, I had him sitting on a desk, climbed all the way down the desk, climbed down to the floor, and trekked, I don't know how long it took him, from there all the way across the floor into the back, other side, opposite end of the basement, into the service room, all the way around the back, and literally was found days later, because I thought, where did he go? This little crab didn't eat him. And he was hanging by one claw next to we have like a little sump pump situation. And my dad made like a French drain years ago. And there's like a offshoot for water in the event that the ground gets saturated so as not to flood or take any water in the basement. And there's like maybe an inch of water in the bottom of it and next to the hot water heater. He's literally on brick and concrete hanging inside the hole trying to reach the water down there, which was a good 2-foot drop. And my brother at the time, that's how old Luigi was, it's been years, went downstairs and found him and just went looking for a water source because we have a sink in the kitchen, in the basement, and we have a full kitchen in the basement, and he was not in the sink. And I'm thinking, come on, he's not going to like leave. So I ended up having to put a lid on and put books on the lid to keep Luigi the lobster inside his cage. We did find him. He had molted to a larger stature. And yeah, that's crazy. So he found him and we returned him. But I would have never thought to look there. If Rock didn't find him, I don't know where he would have gone. So that's kind of the history of the Chronicles of Fur, or crustaceans as well, over all the time that I've been alive, really. And I just think it's a shame because some people say life is a series of dogs and dogs are just small tragedies waiting to happen. But I just can't imagine not having them and some of the things that we've done or taken them or experienced, or even just the way they have their own little personality, and they know what you're saying. They just do. And I guess it also depends on how you raise your dog and treat your dog. I am not tolerant of people that are not cool to their dogs. We had a person nearby that would leave their dog out all the time in rain and heat and everything. Like, that's not cool. Pets are optional, okay? So don't have them if you're not going to take care of them. That's my little public service announcement that I'll share with Sarah McLaughlin and Bob Barker. Do not have a pet if you're not going to take care of a pet. I would argue that human pets are optional too. So if you're not going to take care of your human pet, don't have them. But then again, I'm all for licensing. But, don't get a pet if you can't handle a pet. And even if you have to start with something as small as like a crawfish or something, or maybe start with a pet rock. At least, you don't have to feed it. And if you forget about it, it's okay. Maybe get a Tamagotchi. Do they still have them? I don't know. But don't have a pet if you can't take care of a pet, because you should never abandon your pet. You should never ignore your pet. You should never be harsh to your pet. And I always joke that I'm a rental pet owner because I would probably forget to feed it or something. Like, I love my dogs, but they're really not mine. They're really my sister's dogs, and they're just kind of rentals, So I'll play with them and bring them things and toys and treats and pet them and whatnot. But in the end, they'd be like, did I feed you? Did I take you out? I don't know. So since I know I'm like that, that's not in my wheelhouse to actually have my own pet. So I just have proxy pets, and that's cool too. So hey, that's definitely the way you want to go if you want to start seeing if you can have a pet. But if you do want to get a pet, consider a rescue, or maybe go look at the SPCA. They have, I think around, I think it's Valentine's Day actually, for $2.14, like literally $2.14. At least in our SPCA and locally, you could actually buy a pet for $2.14. If you make a $2.14 donation, you can get, cat, a dog, or, whatever came in. I can't say that, I don't know. I can't speak to like horses and snakes and exotic pets and things like that. But if you're looking for a domestic animal, like a dog or a cat or a bunny or something, you can go get them very inexpensively for literally a couple dollars donation. And usually rescues are more than willing to work with you and help you with any kind of spaying or neutering or shots or care and things like that. So that is really the key factor. You don't have to spend tons of money to get some purebred or something. And remember, what was a mutt in the 70s has now become a designer dog that they allegedly genetically mixed. I still call them mutts, but it's okay. Now they have all these designer names like Pamawawa. Who knew that would be a thing? Or Pomsky. Okay. Or Labradoodle. In reality, they existed all the time. Now they're just allegedly made. If you enjoyed my story today, then check us out on eclecticcollectionpodcast.com or follow us on your preferred platform. I'm Terry Tenaglia. Thanks for listening.